The British tradition of empirical science and invention is rooted in the emphasis on observation, experimentation, and practical application. This approach gained momentum during the scientific revolution of the 17th century, when scholars like Sir Francis Bacon championed the idea that knowledge should be derived from evidence gathered through systematic observation and experimentation, rather than mere speculation or inherited beliefs. Bacon's Novum Organum laid the foundation for the scientific method, which emphasizes hypothesis testing and reproducibility. This method became a hallmark of British scientific inquiry and profoundly influenced global scientific practices. One of the key figures in this tradition is Sir Isaac Newton, whose groundbreaking work in physics and mathematics epitomized the British approach to science. Newton's laws of motion and universal gravitation were derived from meticulous observation and mathematical reasoning, and they became cornerstones of classical mechanics. Newton's work not only advanced theoretical science, but also inspired practical applications, such as improvements in navigation and engineering, underscoring the British emphasis on the utility of scientific discoveries. The Industrial Revolution, which began in Britain in the late 18th century, showcased the nation's ability to translate scientific knowledge into groundbreaking inventions. Innovators like James Watt, who improved the steam engine, and Richard Arkwright, who developed mechanized textile manufacturing, combined empirical observation with practical ingenuity. These inventions transformed industries, enhanced productivity, and laid the groundwork for modern industrial economies. The interplay between science and industry during this period was a hallmark of the British empirical tradition. Institutions such as the Royal Society, founded in 1660, played a pivotal role in fostering a culture of scientific inquiry and collaboration. The motto of the Society, Nullius in verba, take nobody's word for it, encapsulates the empirical spirit, emphasizing the importance of verifying claims through evidence. The Royal Society provided a platform for scientists and inventors to share their findings, critique one another's work, and promote innovation. This collaborative environment spurred advancements in fields ranging from chemistry and biology to engineering and astronomy. Today, the legacy of Britain's empirical tradition continues to influence science and technology worldwide. British universities, research institutions, and inventors remain at the forefront of innovation, contributing to fields such as artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and medical breakthroughs. The enduring emphasis on evidence-based inquiry and practical problem-solving reflects the deep roots of the British tradition in empirical science and invention, demonstrating how foundational principles laid centuries ago continue to shape the modern world. The French tradition of political revolution is deeply tied to the nation's history of challenging entrenched authority and envisioning new political orders based on liberty, equality, and fraternity. This tradition is epitomized by the French Revolution of 1789, a transformative event that overthrew the monarchy and feudal system. It marked a radical break from centuries of hierarchical rule, as the revolutionaries sought to establish a republic grounded in the rights of man and the sovereignty of the people. The ideas of Enlightenment thinkers like Rousseau and Montesquieu, who advocated for democracy, social contracts, and the separation of powers, played a key role in shaping the ideological foundation of the revolution. The French Revolution also introduced the concept of popular sovereignty, which positioned the people as the ultimate source of political authority. The revolutionaries dismantled the privileges of the aristocracy and the clergy, symbolized by events like the storming of the Bastille and the abolition of feudal dues. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, adopted in 1789, codified principles of individual liberty and equality before the law. Although the revolution experienced internal conflicts, including the Reign of Terror, it established a model for subsequent movements worldwide to challenge authoritarian regimes. The revolutionary spirit of France did not end with 1789. Throughout the 19th century, the country witnessed a series of upheavals, including the revolutions of 1830 and 1848. These events reflected ongoing struggles for social justice, workers' rights, and democratic governance. Each of these revolutions further embedded the idea that political authority should serve the collective will of the people, rather than perpetuate the power of elites. They also highlighted the tension between revolutionary ideals and the practical realities of governing, as France oscillated between monarchy, empire, and republic. The French revolutionary tradition has also inspired global movements. From the Haitian Revolution, which sought to abolish slavery and colonial domination, to anti-colonial struggles in Africa and Asia, the principles of liberty and equality espoused during the French Revolution have resonated far beyond France's borders. The influence of French revolutionary thought is evident in the spread of republican ideals and the framing of political struggles in terms of universal human rights, emphasizing the potential for political transformation in diverse contexts. Today, the legacy of the French tradition of political revolution continues to shape debates about justice, democracy, and human rights. While contemporary France is a stable democracy, the nation periodically experiences social movements and protests, such as the Gilets jaunes, yellow vests, which echo the revolutionary ethos of challenging perceived injustices and advocating for systemic change. The enduring impact of France's revolutionary tradition lies in its ability to inspire both the reimagining of political systems and the active pursuit of a more equitable and democratic society. The German Hegelian tradition views change as an intrinsic feature of both nature and society, rooted in the philosophy of Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. Central to Hegel's thought is the idea that reality unfolds through a dynamic process of development, which he termed dialectics. In this view, change is not merely incidental but fundamental to the structure of existence. Hegel argued that progress arises through the interplay of contradictions, where opposing forces or ideas collide, resolve, and synthesize into a higher, more complex unity. This dialectical process reflects the natural evolution of both the physical world and human societies. In nature, Hegel saw a continuous process of self-realization, where simpler forms evolve into more complex and integrated entities. This view aligns with the broader German tradition of idealist philosophy, which perceives nature not as a static machine, but as a living, dynamic system imbued with purpose. For Hegel, the development of nature reflects the unfolding of the Geist, spirit, a metaphysical principle that seeks self-awareness through its manifestations. This perspective influenced later thinkers in fields such as biology and ecology, who emphasized interdependence and evolution as key principles in understanding natural systems. When applied to society, Hegel's philosophy suggests that human history progresses through a dialectical process of conflict and resolution. Hegel's famous concept of the cunning of reason posits that even seemingly chaotic or destructive events contribute to the rational development of human freedom and societal structures. For instance, revolutions, wars, and social upheavals, while disruptive, can ultimately lead to more advanced and just political systems. The state, in Hegel's view, represents the culmination of this process, embodying the rational organization of freedom within a community. Hegelian ideas about change deeply influenced subsequent German thought, particularly in the works of Karl Marx. Marx adapted Hegel's dialectical method to develop historical materialism, arguing that material conditions, rather than metaphysical principles, drive societal change. Marx's emphasis on class struggle as the engine of historical development highlights the enduring relevance of Hegel's dialectical framework, even as Marx shifted its focus from idealism to materialism. This legacy underscores the German intellectual tradition's commitment to understanding change as a systematic and necessary feature of both nature and society. In contemporary thought, the Hegelian tradition continues to inspire debates about the nature of progress, the role of conflict in social transformation, and the interconnectedness of human and natural systems. Hegel's recognition of change as an essential attribute of order challenges static views of reality, encouraging a dynamic understanding of how societies and ecosystems evolve. By emphasizing the dialectical interplay of forces, Hegel's philosophy offers a framework for grappling with the complexities of change in an ever-transforming world. Karl Marx, 1818–1883, was a German philosopher, economist, sociologist, and revolutionary thinker whose work profoundly influenced the development of political theory, economics, and modern social movements. Born in Trier, Germany, Marx was deeply influenced by the intellectual climate of 19th-century Europe, which was marked by rapid industrialization, growing social inequalities, and revolutionary upheavals. He is best known for his critique of capitalism and his vision of a classless, communist society, articulated in works like the Communist Manifest, 1848, co-authored with Friedrich Engels, and Das Kapital, 1867. Marx's intellectual synthesis of the British, French, and German traditions demonstrates his ability to combine empirical observation, revolutionary fervor, and philosophical depth into a comprehensive theory of societal change. From the British tradition of empirical science and invention, Marx drew inspiration for his materialist approach to understanding history and society. He admired the empirical rigor of British political economists like Adam Smith and David Ricardo, whose analyses of labour, value, and capital laid the groundwork for his critique of capitalism. Marx studied the British Industrial Revolution closely, observing its transformative effects on production, social relations, and class structures. By applying a scientific method to his study of economics, Marx sought to reveal the underlying laws of motion governing capitalist societies, much as British scientists sought to uncover the laws of nature. The French tradition of political revolution provided Marx with a framework for understanding the transformative potential of mass movements. The French Revolution of 1789 and subsequent revolutions in 1830 and 1848 deeply influenced Marx's belief in the possibility of radical social change. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity resonated with his vision of a society freed from exploitation and oppression. However, Marx was critical of the French revolutionary tradition's reliance on abstract ideals and its failure to address the material conditions of the working class. He sought to ground revolutionary theory in the concrete realities of economic systems and class struggle, thus merging the French emphasis on action with a materialist perspective. The German Hegelian tradition of change as an essential attribute of nature and society profoundly shaped Marx's dialectical method. Marx adopted Hegel's idea of history as a dynamic process of development driven by contradictions, but he transformed it into a materialist framework. Instead of seeing the dialectic as the unfolding of the Geist, spirit, Marx argued that it was rooted in material conditions, particularly the contradictions between the forces of production, technology and labor, and the relations of production, ownership and class structures. This adaptation allowed Marx to analyze historical change as a product of economic and social conflicts, rather than abstract philosophical principles. Marx's synthesis of these three traditions is evident in his concept of historical materialism, which posits that the economic base of society shapes its political and ideological superstructures. By integrating the British focus on empirical observation, the French emphasis on revolutionary transformation, and the German dialectical understanding of change, Marx created a comprehensive framework for analyzing the development of human societies. His theory emphasizes the centrality of class struggle in driving historical progress, and envisions a future in which the working class overthrows capitalist systems to establish a more equitable social order. Through his work, Marx not only analyzed the conditions of his time, but also provided a blueprint for revolutionary action. His emphasis on the necessity of change, grounded in empirical analysis and inspired by revolutionary ideals, resonated with workers and activists around the world. Marx's ideas have been instrumental in shaping movements for social justice, from the labor unions of the 19th century to contemporary struggles against inequality and exploitation. Marx's legacy lies in his ability to bridge theoretical traditions and apply them to practical concerns. His synthesis of empirical science, revolutionary politics, and dialectical philosophy remains influential in diverse fields, from sociology and economics to political science and cultural studies. While interpretations of his work have varied widely, the core of Marx's thought, his insistence on the interconnectedness of economic systems, societal structures, and historical change, continues to inspire critical analysis and transformative action. In combining these three traditions, Marx not only redefined the intellectual landscape of his era, but also provided a powerful lens for understanding and challenging the structures of power and inequality that persist in modern societies. His work exemplifies the potential of interdisciplinary thinking to address complex problems and to imagine a more just and equitable future. While Karl Marx's ideas have had a profound impact on political theory and social movements, they are not without significant limitations and critiques. One of the key criticisms is the deterministic nature of his theory of historical materialism, which posits that economic conditions and class struggle inevitably lead to the collapse of capitalism and the rise of communism. Critics argue that history is far more complex and contingent, shaped by a wide range of cultural, political, and environmental factors that cannot be reduced solely to economic dynamics. The deterministic aspect of Marx's theory underestimates the agency of individuals and the unpredictability of historical events. Another limitation of Marx's ideas lies in their reliance on the concept of a homogeneous working class with shared interests and a unified revolutionary potential. In reality, the working class is highly diverse, divided along lines of race, gender, ethnicity, and national identity, which can complicate efforts to build solidarity. Marx's framework also tends to prioritize economic exploitation while underemphasizing other forms of oppression, such as those based on race, gender, or colonialism. This has led some critics to argue that Marxism lacks an intersectional approach, which is crucial for understanding the multifaceted nature of social inequalities. Marx's vision of a post-capitalist, classless society has also been criticized for its lack of specificity. While he was adept at critiquing capitalism, Marx offered few concrete details about how communism would function in practice. This vagueness has led to significant variation in how Marxist principles have been interpreted and implemented, sometimes with disastrous results. Historical attempts to create Marxist-inspired states, such as in the Soviet Union or Maoist China, often led to authoritarian regimes that betrayed Marx's ideals of freedom and equality. Critics argue that Marx underestimated the potential for new forms of power and oppression to emerge in the absence of capitalism. Additionally, Marx's emphasis on industrial labor as the central force of production and revolution has been challenged in the context of contemporary societies. In the 21st century, economies have shifted significantly towards services, information technology, and automation, which have altered the nature of work and class relations. Marx's focus on industrial capitalism does not fully account for these changes or the rise of new forms of economic power, such as multinational corporations and global financial systems. As a result, his analysis may seem less relevant in explaining the complexities of modern capitalism. Finally, Marx's theories often overlook ecological concerns and the environmental costs of industrial production. While he recognized the exploitative relationship between capitalism and nature, Marx did not develop a comprehensive framework for addressing ecological sustainability. In today's era of climate change and environmental crises, this omission is increasingly significant. Critics argue that any viable critique of capitalism must incorporate environmental dimensions and propose sustainable alternatives. In sum, while Marx's ideas remain influential, their limitations highlight the need for adaptation and expansion to address the complexities of contemporary social, economic, and ecological challenges. The three traditions, British empirical science, French revolutionary fervor, and German dialectical philosophy, offer valuable insights for addressing the challenges of today's complex society. From the British tradition, we can take the importance of evidence-based reasoning and practical application. In a world increasingly driven by data and technology, the emphasis on empirical observation and systematic analysis is essential for tackling global issues like climate change, economic inequality, and public health crises. This tradition reminds us that progress depends on grounding our decisions in rigorous research and verifiable facts, while also ensuring that innovations serve practical and equitable purposes. From the French revolutionary tradition, we are reminded of the transformative power of collective action and the pursuit of justice. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity continue to resonate in contemporary social movements, advocating for human rights, racial justice, gender equality, and environmental sustainability. The French tradition teaches us that systemic change often requires bold vision and the willingness to challenge entrenched power structures. It also highlights the importance of maintaining vigilance to ensure that revolutions do not reproduce new forms of oppression, but rather create lasting systems of equity and inclusion. The German Hegelian tradition, as adapted by Marx, underscores the significance of understanding change as a dynamic and dialectical process. This perspective is particularly relevant in an era defined by rapid technological, social, and environmental transformations. Hegelian dialectics encourages us to view conflicts and contradictions not as obstacles, but as opportunities for progress, allowing us to synthesize opposing perspectives into more comprehensive solutions. By integrating these traditions, as Marx attempted, we can develop frameworks that are both empirically grounded and socially transformative, enabling us to address the interconnected challenges of our time with nuance and creativity.